Obviously, the election of President Trump has effect on not only Middle East, has got an effect in every way in the world. And I sent him a letter and a telegram of congratulations. And we all hope that during this period, most of the places in the world will go through a peaceful period. As he repeated many times that he's taking the presidency back and he will solve all the turmoil problems in the world peacefully. So I think this is my main objective, and I wish him luck to achieve that. Obviously, everybody is expecting the new administration and see how the administration start operating. There are a lot of issues on his agenda, and I think the best thing is to wait and see what will happen in the near future, obviously after the 100 days for completing the administration. But I hope, again, I repeat that I hope, and I think it's everybody hoping that this administration will try to solve most of the national and international problems in the world.
Maybe then President Trump will eventually get the Nobel Peace Prize that he wants.
Well, if he does that, I wish him all the luck. He should get it.
You talk about a period potentially of stability and peace. We're coming off an extremely tumultuous period in the region. Yet in the last month, we have a ceasefire agreed to between Israel and Hamas. We have a ceasefire agreed to between Israel and Hezbollah. We have the demise of the Assad regime, new leadership in place. How do you see the regional stability evolving in the coming months and years?
Middle East has been going through a very serious period of instability, conflicts in many places. Obviously, on top of it, Gaza problem, Palestinian problem, Palestinian demands, and fighting in Gaza or attacking Gaza on daily basis for a year and a half. Then jumped to Lebanon, and then we have the issue of Syria. I think everybody has welcomed the ceasefire in Gaza, but it's only first step. Obviously, ceasefire is very important. Without peace, you cannot tackle any problem. But we hope that it will be starting point for solving genuinely the Palestinian problem. We in Iraq, and I'm sure many other places, we think without giving the Palestinian people their right of self-determination, the problem will remain on the table all the time. So this is one of the things which we are considering, and we are waiting that the international community will play a big role in achieving permanent peace in Palestine, in Gaza, and the rest of land which is occupied by Palestinian people, for achieving self-determination for their future. I think enough casualties has been committed, enough destructions have been committed, and I think the time has come. And it is the responsibility of international community to encourage a peaceful, permanent solution for Palestinian problem.
Do you think the Trump administration has the willingness to allow for that to happen?
I hope so. I mean, creating peace and establishing peace, obviously, it should cover everywhere in the world.
Solution.
Yes.
How do you think about Iran's influence in the region? We spoke about Hamas, Iranian proxy. We spoke about Hezbollah, also Iranian ally. We spoke about the fall of the Assad regime, also an Iranian ally. How do you see their influence now?
Well, this is one regrettable thing in Middle East. We have got a very rich area, very important area. We have a long history of development, history of law, and history of civilization. But unfortunately, what we see now, many conflicts in Middle East. It's not Syria. It has happened in Syria, Lebanon, now Yemen, Sudan, and many other places. We suffered in Iraq for a long period of time under war, conflicts, terrorism, invasions, occupations, until a few years ago. I'm very glad to say, and I'm emphasizing on it, and I'm very proud of it, that peace and stability has been established in Iraq, which allow us to start contributing to improving services, tackling the infrastructures, and giving the Iraqi people better living conditions. And we have really managed to solve many problems which is related to development. Now, you mentioned Syria. Syria is an important area in Middle East. First of all, a large border on Mediterranean Sea, a large and long border with the Iraq, and with other countries, with Turkey, with Jordan, with Lebanon, all. Any conflict in Syria affects all the surrounding countries. And for a long period of time, unfortunately, the regime of Bashar Al-Assad ignored the will of Syrian people. Not only ignoring the will of Syrian people, ignored even the advice of friendly country to solve some of the problems. We, from our side, we tried very hard to convince him of solving or offering a solution to the conflict he has with the Syrian population. Syria is an important, as I said, is an important country, but it's a multinational, multi-religious, multi-ethnic country. So what we hope that the new administration tackle this problem, make peace and prosperity for all the groups and all the nationalities and all the ethnic groups live in Syria. Without that, I think the conflict can remain. In Iraq, we have sent our clear messages. Not only that, Syria was surrounded by terror and terrorism. On the border, we are worried about there are still large groups of terror are living or operating on that border. We have managed to cross our border so they cannot be active in our area, and this is one of the points which is affecting us, and we are concerned about it. So 2 points we really hope that the Syrian new administration will look into it. First, to share power with all the groups and all the nationalities and all the ethnic groups in Syria to take part in the future of Syrians. Secondly, control the movement or behavior of terror in Syria.
Yeah. There's a concern from the international community, or some people I speak to, that the retreat of Iran from Syria and ultimately from Lebanon means that they're rebuilding their footprint within Iraq. How would you describe the Iranian influence in Iraq today?
Iraq is an important and big neighbor to Iraq. Iraqi and Iranians have lived all their life together. So you cannot really ignore Iran from Iraq, and you cannot ignore Iraq from Iran. Most of the nationalities in both countries are relatives, or they have close relationship with each other. Not only nationalities, religion, social behavior. And there has always been exchange of visitors and exchange of trade and exchange of dialogue between the two countries. But in Iraq, we have emphasized, since we have established our constitution and created our institutes and created our parliament and created our government. We are an independent country. We want to establish good relationship with all our neighboring countries. And I'm glad to say we have achieved it. So our relationship with Iran is normal and is friendly. But we will not allow any country to interfere in our decisions, and we emphasize to have a strong independence in Iraq for the benefit of Iraqi people. Unfortunately, we have interference still by Turkish troops in Kurdistan region. We appeal to the Turkish government even to stop that interference. This is one of the aspects of our politics which is worrying, and we will not allow any interference in our sovereignty by any country. And we will not at the same time allow anybody from our country to attack or undermine the political
Well, I was going to
system.
say that is the government in control of some of the Iranian proxy groups that are operating within Iraq?
Yes, actually they are not Iranian proxies. They are Iraqi people. But occasionally they listen to outsiders. But this has been really effective during Gaza bombing and Gaza killing, because the Gaza attacks and Gaza feelings, not it was only political or economical or military action. It affected every family in Iraq. It became emotional. Now, for the last actually more than 6 months, these activities have been stopped and everything is controlled by the Iraqi government. And we will not allow any groups of people to operate except the military force which is recognized by the government and part of the government.
Yeah. How big of a threat is ISIS still today? I spoke to your prime minister a couple of months ago, and he said that he wanted to start discussions with the U.S. administration about the...
ISIS?
I'll repeat the question. So I spoke to your Iraqi prime minister, the Iraqi prime minister, about the withdrawal of U.S. troops in Iraq because ISIS was in a more manageable situation. How do you see the threat from ISIS today?
Well, inside Iraq, I'm very glad to say that we have controlled all the activities of ISIS. Maybe occasionally one individual or two individuals misbehave, but there is really no threat inside Iraq on any population or any town or any village or the capital by ISIS. That's one point. But we are worried about some ISIS pockets on the border of Iraq. So that's why we have, at present, we have taken action on the border between Iraq and Syria to control movement of any groups, especially ISIS group, to enter Iraq. So in Iraq, our situation is peaceful and threat of ISIS is minimum or non-existence, and our security forces are really vigilant about ISIS movements and ISIS control.
Is it time for the U.S. to withdraw its forces, its troops?
Staying or withdrawing in Iraq by multinational forces is not only American, it's a multinational forces. This has come to an agreement between multinational forces and Iraqi security forces or Iraqi government. And the decision has to be taken by both sides based on understanding of the situation. The government of Iraq obviously take a decision in consultation with the parliament, in consultation with the political groups, because this is a national decision. It's not an individual decision. It cannot be taken by one individual or two individuals. I'm sure when the right time comes, they will decide on either to remain or to stay. We appreciate the existence of multinational forces. They did help us when we needed. And at the same time, when the time has come, or when the time will come for departure, we will come to a mutual understanding between the two sides.
How important is it, do you think, for not just the question of ISIS, but again, this tenuous stability that you speak about, that the new transitional government in Syria actually does succeed?
Well, I think if it's for positive actions, we welcome it. But obviously, anything which can not be controlled or which will affect our border or affect Iraqis, we will not allow it, and we will not hesitate to tell them and to be frank with them. But I hope, for the benefit of Syrians more than the Iraqis, that things will go in a positive directions, and the new administration will be democratic. It should be representing all the groups of people who live in Syria, and try to concentrate on improving the life and the conditions of Syrian people. This is our hope, because we are concerned about Syria.
Yeah.
We are very friendly with Syrian people, and anything which causes security in Syria affects us, and anything which is security in Iraq is affecting the Syrians. We have been living together for I don't know how many years, maybe 5,000 or 6,000 years. So, and we want to continue living in harmony and in peaceful condition.
Yeah. So to circle back to that, and also back to the beginning of the interview, President Trump, probably the big prize that he's looking for in the region is a potential normalization deal between Saudi Arabia and Israel. He did the Abraham Accords in his first term, probably looking to do that or to work towards Saudi Arabia, Israel in his second term. If that does happen, do you think it opens the door for an eventual Iraqi-Israel normalization?
Well, I think you should ask that question to Saudis or President Trump, see what will happen on their agenda. But I think really at present is not relevant for us to comment on these. It's not on the table. It doesn't exist. I mean, we do hear number of comments and suggestions by different media or different groups or different politicians, but I think we should comment on it when it becomes a reality. Then we can express our feeling and express our needs. But we need really, what we concentrate in Iraq, we want peace and stability for entire Middle East. Middle East is a rich country area. It has got a long history. It has got a long history of civilization. And I think we should all work to improve the situation peacefully and with the good coexistence and with the social justice in the entire area.